I was scrolling through Instagram last night and I came across this photo, which does appear to be the rear end of the brand new C8 Corvette, which of course isn't released yet. Hi, my name is Eric and we're going to take a look at three things. That is this photo authentic? What is the source of it? And then we're going to look at the design elements and compare it to some other cars and just kind of break it down. I will be at the reveal on July 18th, and I'm going to try to get video up as quickly as possible. So I'm going to post something on YouTube the next day on the 19th, but if you want to get the fastest access possible to what this car looks like in person, maybe sitting inside it, I'm going to be posting Instagram stories. I might go live on Instagram, so follow me there. It's a RevMatchTV, it's right on screen. Oh, and if you want to talk sports cars in general, I've got a Discord chat. The link is down below. It's basically a live chat with a bunch of different chat rooms for different models, different makes, and so forth. Definitely go join it. We've got over 500 members right now. Thank you so much for 43,000 subscribers on YouTube and almost 7 million views. Insane. So is this photo authentic, and is this the final version of what the back end of the car is gonna look like? I've got the full photo on screen and you can see this is taken indoors. Now my perception is that this is taken probably with some sort of cell phone camera. It's not particularly high res, it's 72 DPI. I did pull it off the web, so of course I'm not looking at the original photograph, but I did look for any kind of alterations and anything that might point to this photograph being inauthentic. I'm not a Photoshop pro, but I am pretty good in Photoshop. I work in it every single day, and I do see a lot of JPEG compression artifacts. That's pretty normal. It's a normal compression algorithm. It's not RAW, which is something you'd get off a nice DSLR camera or a mirrorless camera. So I don't see anything unusual from that perspective. It does look like the photograph was taken at about the same height as the car, perhaps down to the right a little bit. I'm guessing it was taken from maybe as far as 15, 20 feet back, depending on the lens, depending on the camera, maybe as close as 10 feet. Although if it was 10 feet, I would think we'd have a higher resolution image. The resolution is 960 by 540. That's definitely not typical cell phone camera resolution. I'm not quite sure if it's cropped. It probably is cropped. Perhaps it's cropped to take out, if there's people in the picture, some of the people, something like that. So right now on screen, I've got this photo, and I've also got this paint booth photo, which is from 2017 at some point. And this photo on the left here in red alleges to be the rear end of the car in a paint booth. And actually, they look pretty similar in my opinion. Now in most of these photos, in the comparison photo, I've done a horizontal flip on it, maybe done a little bit of enhancement and contrast in Photoshop just to kind of make them a little bit more equal. But looking at the back of this, they look pretty similar to me. You can see the taillight cutout. It has this sort of triangular piece, which is the same as the blue car. You can see the license plate holder area appears to be about the same shape, which looks like an international type shape for, you know, you could put European plates on there, you could put North American plates. And then the area of, I guess, the bumper, which is next to these air outlets, also has the same kind of shape too. And then of course we get to this wing spoiler type thing, which also looks pretty similar to me. Then we got to get to the person who is posting this photo. So I found this on Instagram. It's a guy called Absolute Hank. I messaged him on Instagram and he messaged me back, and I asked him where he found this photo. And he said, I found it on a Facebook group, I saved it there, posted it to Corvette forum and here on Instagram. When I went back to the source, I couldn't locate it. Maybe it was deleted, not sure. Now it's everywhere, so I don't know who had it first. So then I went to Corvette forum just to verify Hank, and he is a 10-year Corvette forum member. He's got over 2,800 posts, so Hank appears to be the real deal. So no questions about the credibility of Hank whatsoever. There's a guy called Corvette Nut who's been posting frequently all over social media, and this guy seems to have access to a lot of Corvette stuff. He just posted some stuff from the Nürburgring, so I think Corvette Nut is some sort of insider. Either people are sending him stuff that he's getting from all kinds of different continents, including the Nürburgring and North America, and I don't know, maybe somewhere else. He's posting from all over the globe. He seems to be at the right place at the right time. That guy is almost certainly a Corvette insider, or certainly someone who's super connected, but Absolute Hank? I don't think so. So is this a real photograph? Yeah, actually, I think this photograph is the real deal. So what I want to do next is I want to compare the rear of the C8 against a couple different cars and see what we think of them and look at the design element. Let's look at the taillights here. I've got the official C7 Corvette photo from Chevy, and then we've got this blue car here. I've done a little bit of unsharp mask in Photoshop, which basically just sharpens up the image. I know it's called unsharp mask, it's not really intuitive, and I've also done a little bit of contrast on it, but I've done no other work on the C8 image. So I think the most interesting thing here is we've got these taillights, and they certainly have a similar design language. On the C7, I guess you could call them the arrows, the V of the taillights is pointing inwards, and on the C8 they are pointing outwards. The C8 taillights do appear to have a lot of depth, perhaps a little bit more than the C7, although again this photo is taken from a bit of a distance, but you've got these red outer elements and then you've got the white inner elements, and the white inner elements are definitely a bit recessed. And then below that, on the C8 we have this black, I'm assuming it's an air outlet, and on the C7 we have a similar kind of thing. They've repositioned it a little bit. Now let's look at the whole rear end of the car. And on the C7 it's a lot cleaner, I would say. The black valance on the bottom is a lot bigger, and that's where the plate is. On the C8 we've got sort of a different valance. It's got a little bit more structure to it. And if you zoom in on it, this is where the photograph is a little bit more difficult to see. We definitely have some reflections in the paint and the black valance of what appears to be the floor behind it. So that's another reason why I think this is authentic. And this black valance is definitely much more busy looking, in my opinion. Also, what's noticeable is that on the C7 you've got space for the Corvette emblem, the logo, and the name Corvette, and on the C8 I don't see that there's a space for the logo. Another thing that's really significant is the tailpipes, the exhaust outlets, the exhaust. They're pretty small on the C8. We've got 4 of them, of course, and they are off to each side. And on the C7, they're big, they're in the middle of the bumper, they're in the middle of the car. Pretty big difference in design here. And of course there's the size. On the C7, they just appear to be a lot bigger. On the C8, if you're looking for aftermarket tips, looking for aftermarket exhaust, I don't see that you're going to be able to do anything much different here, certainly nothing much bigger unless you change the entire lower valance of the car. These are pretty small exhaust tips. They don't really scream performance to me like big ones do. I find that a little bit disappointing. Personally, it's a big change, no question. So how accurate are these renders that we've been looking at for the last couple months? There's a really talented guy called Chaz Cron. He's on Mid-Engine Corvette Forum. He's posted a lot of these renders, and he said that he has based his renders on the design of all the prototypes, all the camo cars that we've seen running around various parts of the globe. So the rear of the Chaz Cron render looks to be actually very, very similar to what we're seeing in the blue photograph here, certainly from all of the different elements and the different panels. On the blue car, on the C8, the alleged photo here, we've got this, the lower valance does seem to come up into the bumper a little bit more. The exhaust, of course, is in the same place, and these rear air elements, these air extraction vents, they seem to be in the same place. He's got the license plate area looking very, very similar. He's got the tail lights looking pretty similar, but Chaz Cron has got the center of the part above the license plate, I guess the lip you might call it, that seems to be a little bit more dropped here. And then we come to this wing slash spoiler. So what can I say? I'm not a fan. I don't think it looks good in my opinion, and all of the different prototypes we've seen running around. Now I'm sure of course it's functional. It does seem to be a dual element where we have elements of a spoiler and elements of a wing. And just as a quick overview, a spoiler is designed to spoil the airstream, to break up the airstream coming off the back of a car. It deflects air up, and basically what it does is reduces the turbulence behind the car, which causes a vacuum, which causes resistance. So that's the function of a spoiler. A wing is designed to produce downforce by basically acting like an airplane wing upside down, gonna produce some downforce. So at least that's my layperson's analysis of what's going on with this rear spoiler wing element. Do I think it looks good? No, I don't. Someone pointed out that the rear of the C8 looks a lot like the Lamborghini Aventador. So I've got that up on screen right now, and let's take a look at that. So the Aventador has also a mix of curved surfaces meeting hard surfaces, straight surfaces, but they're a little bit more harmonized in my opinion. On the rear of the Aventador, we have the top surface of the green paint, the rear meeting the taillights, and it's sort of drooping down a little bit. On the rear of the Corvette, on the other hand, you've got the sides where the taillights are. It's sort of moving in an upward shape. So you sort of have a bit of an arc that is a little bit like a smile, and on the Aventador, it's a little bit more of a frown. We also have this air extraction vent on the Aventador too, but on the Aventador, it just looks a lot more harmonious, in my opinion. It just seems like a more well-executed design. The C8, to me, is coming off as looking kind of busy from the rear, quite frankly. We've got a lot of design elements that don't really seem to align, and we have these different angles sort of coming together in odd ways that just make it look a little bit busy and reminds me a little bit of Pontiac from the 90s. Now I know I'm probably going to offend a lot of Corvette fans and purists, and I'm a Corvette fan, but I'm actually having a little bit of a hard time getting behind this. Now of course this could be the angle, and we've seen a lot of these cars on the street which have a lot of camouflage in the back, so those are, I sort of discount those. I think what we're going to see is probably something a little bit more like this. However, I hope it's a situation where it looks better in person than it does in the photographs. I kind of expect that to be the case, because to me overall this is like a little bit disappointing. And now let's compare it to the Camaro. We've got the official Camaro press photo here from Chevy on the left, and of course we've got the C8 on the right hand side, and this is the most popular comparison I've seen. People are saying it looks like a squished Camaro rear end, so I sort of wanted to put that up on screen and take a look, and it's pretty obvious, at least from the taillights, this is the design language that Chevy is using on their taillights right now. And indeed, the taillights on the C8 do look a little bit more squished, a little bit more angular. You've got more of an arrow pointing outwards, and they seem to have a little bit more depth to them too. The rear of the car definitely has some similarities, certainly with respect to the exhaust placement. And even the wing a little bit has some similarities too, so it looks to me like the C8 is sort of taking a little bit of the design language of the Camaro and bringing it into, I guess they're going to call it the Stingray probably. The Camaro actually has a simpler rear end. I gotta say, I'm not in love with this, and that seems to be the general tone from what I've seen on Twitter, from what I've seen on Instagram, from what I've seen on the various forums. There's sort of a split, but I think the split right now is towards people not liking the rear of the car so much, at least from this angle. And again, I'm hopeful that this is just a bad angle. We're gonna have to see, we're gonna have to wait for the reveal to see what it actually looks like. Now, before everybody gets all upset and brings their pitchforks out, remember, if you were following the Supra, there was a lot of consternation, a lot of hate over the design of the Supra when it came out. There still is, although it's had a chance to settle right now in people's minds. And the rear of the car, while it definitely is busy, and I know there's some people on Mid-Engine Corvette forum that really hate the rear of the Supra and hate the design of the Supra in general. You know who you are, and there's some other people too, but that doesn't really matter. It's all design, it's all personal preference. I think the Supra is looking pretty good now, about 6 months after the actual reveal and after I saw the car. I was a little bit skeptical when before I saw it in person, but when I saw the Supra in person, I had a really good impression of it. I really like it. I think it's a very good looking car right now, and the rear is busy, but at least so far I'm gonna judge the Supra rear end a better success than the Corvette rear end. And of course, this is all just personal opinion. My Patreons who are helping support this channel by getting me out to events like the C8 Corvette, I definitely want to thank them. These guys get early access, and they are going to get early access to the first Corvette video that I post. I want to thank Real6, $100 per month. Dude, you are freaking awesome. I'm blown away. Furious Grummel, $50, and Squirrel Pope, $20 a month, and there's some others on screen. You guys are incredible. If you want to see more Corvette stuff, definitely go ahead and subscribe. There's a couple videos right up here on screen right now. My name is Eric, don't you forget it, and I'll see you in the next video.